Yo, sick Volvos.
What's up guys, it's Drifts and Lifts here, and welcome back to the Drifts and Lifts Epic Volvo Drift YouTube channel. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button, make sure to click it and turn on notifications for all the Volvo Drift gravy you could ever ask for. Alright guys, so I'm going to keep it interesting for you today. We are going to be installing a boost controller and a boost gauge into Lawrence here. So I actually have yet to do like a full boost pull in this car just because the gas has been so old. I'm still on the tank of gas that I bought the car with, and this was sitting for about 8 to 9 months. So not the greatest idea to go boosting around on super old gas. There's rumors, and I'm pretty sure they're true, about it losing its octane rating and that kind of thing. So to be safe, before I go boosting around, I'm going to fill it up with good gas, and we will see that later in this episode. So what we're going to do first is I'll show you guys how I installed the boost controller. We're working with a manual boost controller here, so just a Turbo Smart. We got that right here. So you can get an electronic boost controller. Those are more expensive, obviously. You got to wire them in and that kind of thing. But one of the greatest bang for your buck upgrades for these cars, because they're factory turbo, is throwing on a manual boost controller and cranking up the boost to 14 psi. As you guys know, these cars from the factory came running about 7 to 8 pounds of boost. So on the stock injectors and the stock management system, you can go up to about 14 pounds. I've had a wideband in one of these cars with stock injectors and stock turbo and ECU and that kind of thing. And once I got past 14, 15 pounds, probably about 16, 17 to be honest, is when it actually started to lean out, and that was really dangerous for the motor. You don't want to lean it out under high boost. That is a big no-no. So it's good to keep it in check, and what you're going to need is a boost gauge for that, right? So first I'll show you guys how I installed this boost controller here. It is super simple. There's really nothing to it. So this car has a factory, well, it's actually not factory for this car. I put this on after, but this is a 13C turbo from a 1990 740. So as you can see, it has the 90 plus manifold. In 1990, they changed these exhaust manifolds. Some say they flow a little bit better. Not a huge concern. I'm going to be changing it out when I do the big build on this car, but for now, this thing is going to rock pretty good. We're going to have some fun with it on a more stock setup. So if we look right here, here's our Turbo Smart manual boost controller, and how we installed it. If I can get some light down here. Okay, we're gonna look down here. See where this vacuum line, right, if I can put the light right there, right here. So this vacuum line is running right to the wastegate actuator, right on that nipple there. So if you follow this line up, simply comes up to our manual boost controller. If you look on the boost controller, there's a little word that says wastegate, and then there is, oh, wait a minute here. I have this running the wrong way. Whoopsies. Okay, well, so the wastegate line should be going actually to the other side here. So the wastegate actuator, when it says wastegate on this boost controller, it means it wants the line to go to the wastegate actuator. So I have to flip that around, but that's not a big deal. The only spot that these vacuum lines are going is onto the turbo on this little nipple right here, and down to the wastegate actuator right down there. So super simple. I'm gonna flip these around because that is actually wrong. I'm not too sure what that's gonna cause if I have it the wrong way, but I'm not gonna want to find out. So I'm gonna flip those around, and yeah, that's basically a manual boost controller install for you. So super simple. This is the best bang for your buck upgrade you can do on these cars. I want to remind you guys that if you're running higher boost on stock injectors and all that kind of stuff, even if you're not on stock injectors, you're going to want the best octane fuel you can find. These cars were rated to run premium in the first place, and that's only on stock boost and that kind of thing, right? So when you crank it up, you're really going to want some high octane fuel. So that's all good. You basically are going to have to fiddle with this depending on what boost controller you go with. Some of these, like, 4 clicks will be about 1 psi. Some of them, a couple clicks can be 1 psi. It depends on what one you go with. You're going to have to play with it. And the best way to do it is dial it up a couple clicks and go for a ride and then see what it's at. If you're not happy with it, you want some more, go up. Just don't go up like 20 clicks at once and all of a sudden you boost spike to 25 psi and blow the rings out. So that's all I really got to say about that. Super simple. good to go. Turbo Smart manual boost controller, boom, boom. All right, so now the little bit more difficult part is gonna be the gauge install. So I'm gonna be showing you guys how I do that. Really at the end of the day, not too difficult though. You guys will be able to figure this out quite easy once I show you. Okay, I'm just gonna get my light from down here. So I can do a little more light. I know you guys said in the last video that lighting is a key, and you're definitely right. We definitely need some light in here. So for now, I got my phone light. I'm gonna try to keep things illuminated. All right, guys, so if we look here, these turbo models on the factory Volvo 740, they already come with a factory boost gauge. So see how it says turbo there, and there's yellow or white. Or black, sorry. So yellow is boost, black is no boost. It's really not much of there's not a whole lot of detail in it. It just shows you if you're in turbo boost. It doesn't show you how much boost you're running, anything like that. So obviously if you're bumping up the boost, you're not gonna wanna run that. So we're gonna need an aftermarket gauge. Where's mine over here? All right, so here's the aftermarket gauge that I'm gonna be running. It is a Trisco, I'm not too sure, whatever, you know, as long as it reads fine. And I had this in another car and it did read fine. So this is the one we're gonna use. It's got a basic vacuum nipple on the back here. That's where the vacuum line's gonna go on. All right, so how we're gonna install this. First we need a place to mount it in the car. And luckily, I was looking in my big pile of Volvo parts and I found this pillar gauge. So this is pretty cool. This is actually for a Volvo 740. We're gonna install this, and this is where I'm gonna be running my boost gauge. But in the past, I've actually ran it into this vent here. So I've actually taken out this vent and fit the boost gauge in there, and then I run a vacuum line up through the dash, up through there, and you can do it that way as well. It's gonna take a little bit of fiddling. You're gonna need some vacuum line and, you know, a pair of scissors or whatever. But again, not too difficult. So how we're gonna do this? Okay, so if you look in the engine bay, there's gonna be the vacuum line for the boost gauge actuation. So that's this one right here. Mind you, this one is starting to get pretty cracked and old, so I'm gonna wanna replace that. But I'm not gonna worry about that for now. It is still holding fine. So if we look at this one, the bottom nipple right here, we're gonna follow that vacuum line, goes under here, and it's gonna go into the port in the firewall right under that master cylinder right there. So now that's gonna bring us into the car. So here's when I'm really gonna have to get my light out. All right, let's crawl under here, see if I can get some light for you guys. Okay, so if we look, there's the hole in the firewall right below the master cylinder. All right, so here is our vacuum line. So if you follow the vacuum line up to this point, we see there's a boost T. So this it's basically just a T for a couple vacuum lines. If we notice going up the one way, so up here, that's going up to the stock boost gauge. Now the other one is going to the overboost solenoid. That's right here. So this thing right here, I'll give you a little explanation of this right now. All right, so that boost solenoid, it's actually called an overboost solenoid, sorry. Basically, this car, Lawrence, is an 89. So all the turbo cars, 740s that came in the 80s, ran on a thing called Bosch LH 2.2. So that's basically the fuel system that they used. In the later models, they upgraded that in the turbo models to LH 2.4. Now, LH 2.2, the thing about them is they have an overboost solenoid. So that's basically in case, say, the wastegate line fell off the turbo and you overboosted, it's gonna fuel cut so it doesn't damage your engine. That's kind of like a factory fail-safe thing. So now the thing is, with LH 2.2, that is run up to, it's run to a solenoid, and it's actually actuated by that vacuum line. On the later cars, 1990 plus, the overboost was actually actuated by the MAF, so it would sense too much air coming in, essentially, too much boost pressure, and it would fuel cut that way. So these cars are really simple. If you don't want to fuel cut, you can actually pull that actuator line off for the overboost solenoid, and you will never have fuel cut. You can spool up the turbo to as far as you want to go, and you can go till it throws a rod out the block or whatever, right? It's not what you want to do, but these do cut at like 13, sometimes 14 pounds. I've even had them cut at about 12 pounds. So oftentimes I delete that. So I'm going to take that vacuum line off, and that's going to be the vacuum line we're going to use for our new boost gauge. The only thing about this is you got to be really careful you don't go over boosting it, because now that there's no fuel cut or fail safe, you know, it's not going to be able to save itself. You're going to have to run within your means. You're going to have to know how much boost is the maximum you can run, because this thing will basically keep on trucking until it throws a rod out the block. All right, so if we go under here, let's crawl back under here. Okay. So, if you look here, we have, this is our vacuum line going to our overboost solenoid, and where's our little T? So here's our T, there's the vacuum line going up to our factory boost gauge. I'm still gonna run the factory boost gauge, so I'm actually gonna leave that on. What I'm gonna do is take the vacuum line off the other end of this, so the one that goes to the overboost solenoid, and that's going to be where we run our vacuum line for our new boost gauge. So let me turn the camera off for a sec here while I do that, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right guys, so I'm filming this again because for some reason I went to edit the video, and the two clips that I had filmed earlier didn't have sound on them. So I'm just going to show you guys how the boost gauge install looks now. Okay, so if we look under here, I was talking about that vacuum line that goes to the overboost solenoid. So I removed that and I installed a longer vacuum line. And what I did is I drilled a hole in the side of the dash right there. I ran the vacuum line through that, and as you can see, the vacuum line comes up. I drilled a little hole in the pillar gauge and ran the boost gauge right there. Oh, sorry for the light. Yeah, and then it just goes into the back of the boost gauge. So pretty simple, nothing really to it. Now, if you wanted to install it in this, in the vent hole here, what you would have to do is follow where the vent goes down under the dash, and there'll be a joint with the two like plastic tubes. You can kind of split those and run your vacuum line up through that, and you can actually put the boost gauge in here and have it mounted in there. It's kind of cool. I kind of dig that, but because I had this pillar gauge, I'm gonna do it this way. So that's basically it for the install, guys. So now what I'm gonna do is it's gonna go back to the video, and we're gonna take Lawrence out for a rip. We're gonna put some good gas in it, and we're gonna up the boost up to about 15 pounds and see how this car pulls. All right. We are in Lawrence now, so let's fire this thing up. Well, I got rust removal all over my shoe. It's really slippery now. Oh my god, the alarm. Oh man. Like, come on. I fucking hate this alarm. There we go. And this tranny's getting real hard to shift into first, so I'm gonna put a different tranny in it once I get that clutch kit, which actually just came from shipping, so we'll get that soon. Alright guys, so I'm gonna head to the gas station right now, and we'll get some good fuel in this thing. I'm actually almost out right now, and then we can start messing around with the boost. Alright, we went ahead with V-Power because that was what's closest to me. So we're going to throw some of that in there, and we should be good to up the boost. Alright, so we got 91 octane in the tank. It's all fresh. I basically had no gas in the car, so this is all good to go 91. Alright, so I dialed the boost controller all the way back to what stock would be. So we're going to go to a little road in Mexico here and just do a little bit of a rip, see how much boost we're running, and it should be around like 7 or 8 pounds. And once we see that, then we can start dialing up that controller. And the max we're gonna want to go to on stock injectors, like I said earlier in the video, is gonna be 14, 15 pounds. So anywhere around there. Usually with the manual boost controller, you guys will find that it's gonna spike a bit more as opposed to an electronic boost controller or even an adjustable wastegate. But it's not too big of a deal until you get up into the higher boost levels. On Goldie, when we were running about 20 pounds of boost, it was spiking to 24 and leveling out at 20. So 4 pounds is quite a pretty big spike. This car might spike 2 or 3 pounds, maybe not even. We'll have to see. So I'll just get to a nice road here and then we'll have some fun. Because it is raining and I have an open differential still in this car, it's definitely gonna spin all the way down the road, I'm gonna assume. The tires on the back aren't exactly that grippy. So I'm gonna lower it down to second gear. You gotta remember, in third and fourth gear, you're probably gonna have more boost than in second, just because the turbo has more time to load up. All right, let's see what she can do. Oh yeah, this car goes good. That IPD turbo cam really helps, actually. Oof. I have a savage. The brakes on this car, the rotors are super warped in the front or something, because when I get on the brakes, the wheel shakes violently. This car pulls good though. So we were running about 9 pounds of boost there, which really isn't a whole lot. Once we get this thing up to 15, it's gonna haul ass. It seemed like it spun both tires too, so. No, that's one tire. This thing's quick. Nice. That's dope. Okay, I'm gonna pull over here and crank up the boost a little bit. Alright guys, so I went up 5 clicks. So I need to weld the differential so I can get 2 tires spinning, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's all I could really ask for. I'm curious to see what a K-cam would feel like in this car. Should be pretty good. I'm just wondering, compared to the IPD turbo cam, what we'd be working with there. Let's see. Is holding, but Trinity doesn't want to shift very well. Definitely gonna need new M46 in here. Alright, so we're sitting at right about 15 pounds of boost. In third gear, that's kind of what it hit. Spike wasn't too bad, it was only about a pound or 2. Alright guys, so that's basically a wrap up of the video today. Yeah, so we got our pillar gauge in, we got our boost gauge hooked up. I hope that gives you guys an idea of how to hook up the boost gauge. Pretty simple, just find the vacuum lines, follow it through, find where it meets off with that boost tee. Depending on your car, depending on if your car is an LH 2.2 car that came in the 80s, or if you have a 1990 740, it's going to be a little bit different. There won't be a T going to the overboost solenoid in the stock gauge. It's probably just going to be one line, so you're going to have to make your own T, or you can just disconnect the stock boost gauge and then run your vacuum line to your new boost gauge, the aftermarket one. That works too. Not everybody needs the stock gauge. I just think it's cool to have the stock gauge working as well. Just a little thing. I love how it says turbo and it's just yellow and black. Turbo, yeah, boost. But yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Definitely gonna have to do some work on this transmission, and the brakes are really wobbly on this thing in the front when I get on them. So, you know, like every old Volvo, it's gonna need some work, but that's why we're doing the YouTube channel, and you know, that's why I have this car to work on it, basically. So we're gonna be coming out with a Lawrence design for the merchandise. So make sure you guys check out the Drifts and Lifts store. I know I say this every video, but the link to the Drifts and Lifts store is in the description of this video. We have 4 different beer flavors for the Volvo Drift beer shirts. But let me know in the comments if you guys want to see a shirt made of Lawrence here. So it's probably going to be a Volvo Drift IPA beer. So it'll have Lawrence on it with me out the window. Volvo Drift, you know, 100% giver bud, 2.3 liters of displacement. Good to go. So that's about it for today, guys. Lots more cool Volvo stuff to come. I built a skid plate for the beater, so we're gonna be good for some more off-road videos, and I'm hoping to collab with Marcus from Roads Untraveled. So shout out to Marcus from Roads Untraveled, and yeah, it should be a pretty fun video. He's gonna bring his drone. We're gonna do some off-roading in Volvos, basically. So thanks to everybody who's already bought merchandise. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel like that. It's a great way to support the channel. You get some cool gear, and you know, it helps me out, allows me to continue making videos, doing the thing I love, building Volvos and drifting them, basically. So thanks a lot. All right, like and subscribe for clean shaven Volvo pubes. Peace out.